when Nietzsche is talking about the last man, or this the opposite, which would be the overman, it's because if this process continues, this collapse of consciousness, well, we will end up in the place of the last man, which is when consciousness has completely collapsed. When the institutions have collapsed consciousness so much that it is not even possible to have an aesthetic approach to life. You're stuck in a world which is extremely small, extremely reduced, when there is, a couple actions that you can take, when everything is the same, when there is no passion, there is no joy, there is no future, there is no past, everything is the same and everything is great.
Marx explored this via the alienation of the individual, right?
Exactly.
Like transforming people into cogs in a machine and removing their freedom and their capacity to choose.
Exactly. And one thing that's really interesting, but I think that people have not done the parallel. Well, of course, Nietzsche talked about the socialist and was very anti-socialist, but I think Nietzsche and Marx are actually two takes on the capitalist system, which is that Nietzsche was the one that saw that what was happening was a collapse of aesthetics because of this. And Marx, on the other side, saw that it was a collapse of autonomy.
Choice.
Of autonomy and choice. And in a way, these were two...
They were both happening.
They were both happening.
And they're connected, I suppose.
And they're very connected. And I think Nietzsche has probably... I think his stance is... and there's something very interesting which happened in the history of Marxism, which is that the Marxists... early on in the 1920s, they started to adopt a Nietzschean viewpoint, which is to say that fundamentally alienation and this collapse of liberty, this collapse of freedom, the oppression in a way, the reason why it was so catastrophical was because it impeded a true aesthetic of life and of consciousness, and that's where Lukács comes in with, the whole theory of alienation.
Who?
Lukács. Yeah, he wrote a book called History and Class Consciousness. I think it was in...
He's a Marxist?
Yes.
Low?
L-U... L-U-K-A with an accent, C-S.
A with an accent, C-S. Lukács?
Lukács, yeah, he was like... He was in a way, maybe the originator of something called Western Marxism, which was to combine Marxism with elements of Hegelianism that Marx originally had, but did not, but abandoned in his later works. So, which was to make, which was to refocus Marxism on its philosophical roots instead of its economical roots. And I think there was a start of Marxism's convergence towards Nietzsche's approach, because Lukács' theory and those of Gramsci and other Marxists who were worried about culture, they paved the way for this form of Marxism that happened in the 60s, which was in a way the Marxism of aesthetics, with people like the Frankfurt School, people like Marcuse, Adorno, and all that, who thought that in a way, capitalism was what prevented us from living a beautiful life, from living an aesthetic of life, and that was in a way, like, it's not exactly what Nietzsche is saying, but it converges to the idea of Nietzsche, who said that what we're seeing right now is a collapse of aesthetics because of institutions which are collapsing consciousness. And which is why we're going to see the last man, and the people that, in a way, manage to create consciousness despite these institutions of collapse, are the people that will reach this level of consciousness that will be the overman. Because Deleuze had
the owners of these institutions.
Well, I mean, Deleuze, like Gilles Deleuze, he had a great book on the concept of the concept of the overman. I think I recall it was in this book called Nietzsche, where he explains that the will to power is not about pathological power, which would be wanting to control people and all this. It's like fundamentally like
controlling your own,
controlling yourself, and then expressing it.
Yeah.
It's like being yourself in the world as an aesthetic approach to life. And in a way, this is, we can say that it's another word for consciousness in a way.
Yeah.
When you're fully able to be yourself,
without shame, without shame,
without fear, you're just yourself and trying to improve yourself to be as much you as you can be.
And now this is fascinating, by the way. I could go on for hours, my friend, hours. I'm honored to be here. You know so much, man. It's amazing. I'm really happy. A practical question, because I have so many notes. Like one movie you have to watch is called Videodrome. Have you watched Videodrome?
No, I haven't.
Videodrome. It's an 80s film. It's kind of a horror film, but it speaks about the hijacking of consciousness via television and radio. It's a metaphor. It's a movie. It's art, but it speaks volumes, and it's very Lovecraftian. Like horror and grotesque, and kind of mixes dreams with reality. But it's fascinating. I would love to get your opinion on it. I'm sure you could write something fantastic about it. And I took a lot of notes about several of the authors you're mentioning in the books. But going to a more practical side of things, but staying with the theory that you have elaborated on consciousness, where could one start to raise his own or her own consciousness? And I ask this because many times education is not about that. Many times education is indoctrination, and that means lowering the level of consciousness. And the word consciousness is often misunderstood. But what would you say for someone that is trying to fight all these forces, let's say, in the world, and trying to make their voices a bit first hear their own voice and then be able to express it?
No, I mean that's a great point. I think that the first thing is to build your world in such a way that consciousness becomes possible. So this seems very abstract, but like concretely, you're in a situation, there's a couple things around, right? We've got things on the desk, we're talking to each other. There's, even in a given situation, there's considerable disparity between an interpretation which would be very limited, where you would see things, only tangentially, you would barely even register them, you would not see everything that you could do, you would not see where the conversation could go, for instance, so the path in your life would be very limited, and another one where you could see that, we could talk about so many different things, we could, there would be a life where, there's only a few paths, meaning is limited, and another life where meaning and your understanding of situations are extremely large. And so in terms of implementation, reading, so that's really the first step. We think of reading, novels, poetry and all that as leisure. I think it's almost like instrumental, When you read a book and you're able to understand a story or philosophy, it shapes your world. You're able to see, okay, well, what I'm seeing right now, there's actually a few more pathways into how I can act with it, or in how it could have meaning, or in how we could, enrich it in such a way as to make something come out of it. I'm not sure if I'm too clear, but the core idea is making the world a place with more meaning through imagination.